Hey everyone, when you do these, or when you're working on these, make sure you have the ratios handy, because it does come up a lot. Okay. And then another thing I just want to point out or remind you guys, this part of like this expression, this tells us which ratio to choose, and then this part tells us which angle to look at. Okay. So again, this is the ratio to choose. Again, these are the three different ratios, and then this tells us which angle we're going to be looking at, which acute angle. It's actually an acute angle we're going to be looking at in the right triangle. And again, all of these I'm doing together because we're all using angle F here. So what I want to do in my diagram is let's go ahead and identify the angle F. Okay, and then we're going to identify the sides as opposite, hypotenuse, and adjacent. So the hypotenuse is always the easiest one to figure out because it's the one that's across the 90-degree angle. It's rigid, like there's no movement about it. It's always across the 90-degree angle. Now the adjacent leg and the opposite leg, that depends on which angle you're looking at or which angle we're using here. See, if we focus on this leg, or this side, which is D. D runs into angle F, and it's next to angle F, so I know this is the adjacent leg. The other leg here, there is no other option, it has to be the opposite leg. But by definition, I know it's the opposite leg because it is across angle F. Okay, so now that I have the sides labeled, then I could go through and write down, okay, what sine of angle F? Well, that's opposite over hypotenuse. Opposite is F, hypotenuse is E. So this would look like this, F over E. Okay. Now when we type this into Canvas, we cannot type it vertically. It is going to have to be typed in horizontally. So it's going to, the only difference is it's going to look like this. Okay, so be aware of that. And then cosine of angle F is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is D, hypotenuse is E. So this one would be D over E. And then tangent of angle F. Well, tangent is the opposite over adjacent ratio. Opposite is F, adjacent is D. So this last one is F over D. Okay. Now if you look at the other side focuses on angle D. So we're going to focus on this angle. Now when we focus on this angle, angle D, that changes, it changes these two labels. F is now next to angle D. So this is the adjacent leg. And this one is the opposite leg. Again, because it's across angle D. I'm going to pause this real quick and clear. So there we have, I changed the labels of my two legs, or the two sides of the triangle, because now we're not looking at angle F anymore. We're focusing on angle D. So then I could go through and with my ratios find sine of angle D. Well, here's angle D. The sine ratio is opposite over hypotenuse. So we're going to take the opposite side, which is D, the hypotenuse, which is E, and then write it as a ratio, D over E. Cosine of angle D is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is F, hypotenuse is E. So here we have F over E. And then tangent of angle D is opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Opposite is D, adjacent is F. So that would be D over F. Okay, and that is the first one. Again, just keep in mind when we type these into Canvas, it has to be typed in horizontally.